Hey everyone, welcome back to the Tres Jolie channel. I am here with the items that are from the December mixed media kit. And I'm going to go over them real quick. I have some chunky glass glitter here, two Pearl X powders in Brilliant Gold and Interference Green right there. A metallic paint, Silver Sterling from Folk Art, and some red paint from Tres Jolie. There is this wonderful mold from Prima Redesign. Is a couple of ornaments there. Some air dry clay, and this canvas as the base for the first project to get you going. But I want to work on my ornaments first and get those going and get them drying. So I am going to just go over real quick how I'm going to do that. Now with this air dry clay, there it is, this air dry clay, you should be able to get it in the mold and pull it out before it's dry, so that if you wanted to add some curve like they have here, then you can. So I'm going to just go over that. There. So I'm just going to break off a piece of this clay, work it, and put it in my molds. While I'm finishing up here, I just want to point out, I have this just because I stole it from my husband a few years ago. But anything like a larger palette knife would work to sort of cut that clay along the edges, or even like, say, an old card that just has a nice edge to it that you can use to really kind of cut through that clay and smooth it out some. I just prefer using this because it's handy. So even if you wanted to get one of these, you could probably get them even at Walmart, because it's just a smaller putty knife. So I'm just going to finish up this ornament and get that excess off. I'm not worried about the back being perfect because nobody's going to see the back for what I'm doing right now. I'm just trying to make sure that all of that detail, all of all of the detail here that is in these molds is going to have the clay pushed firmly in it. Okay, I'm just going to leave these in here like this for a little bit. Let them dry. This says they're all the way dry in 24 hours. But that's what that's all there is to using this clay with this mold. So I'll set this off to dry and then come back and carefully pop them out. Alright. I have pulled these out and I just worked them away from the edge. They are not dry, but as soon as they were dry enough that I could start working them, I did do that. And since I do want a little bit of a curve on them, I have them laid out across the two paint bottles. These wax cans are just to keep my paint bottles from rolling side to side. And I am going to let them finish dry now. And clay is very delicate, but I'm not worried because I can easily just stick that back in. And working with clay is really good for that aged look, because it is rough, because clay will crack when it dries. It's just the nature of the clay. So it does really good for some shabby, aged, vintage pieces like what I am working on right now in my head. I should say in my head right now for my canvas piece. But I want to get these ready to go. And so these were my first set that you'd seen me do earlier. And just to make sure I have what I need, let me see here. I'm going to make some more ornaments out of this clay and mold here. Okay, I just kind of wanted to talk about what I did right here. I set this up last night and I put the curve in the mold just so I could do more. These are still not dry on the back, but I'm going to start trying to move things around. I still want to make another set. I think just one more set, just to have them around, or to have them done. I don't know at this point in time for sure how many I may or may not use, but I just wanted to show different ways of setting those up. You know, I had draped them across bottles, and then I had also curved the whole mold. So now I'm going to pop these out very carefully and put them there to finish drying. And then work on another set so that I'll have three of each ornament. Okay, well, I still have my ornaments over there drying. I want to put some black gesso on the canvas. right now is really a whole lot of preparing surfaces, making my ornaments, letting the clay dry, preparing this for what I have in mind, and then I'll work on my flowers, and everything's going to dry, and then I'll start putting everything together. I just want my pieces ready to go. So real quick, some black gesso. Now this is the Little Birdie gesso that came in the May 2020 kit. I'm almost out of this container, but with black gesso, I've really found a little bit goes a long way. Now for my flower work. First, I want to grab up some of the clay, because I am going to be rolling it out. And you'll see here in a minute. Just like if it was cookie dough. Okay, I have this kind of about so thick. Let me see, there we go. And now what I should say, hopefully by now say how the flowers were done. I just grabbed up a poinsettia cut file from the Silhouette store. The one I used is number 69554 from the Silhouette store there. And I cut the pieces out of some very thin chipboard. Very, very thin chipboard, if I can get this in here. Well, it's my having trouble focusing it there. It is, but it was basically the back of a paper stack. So not super thick. I'm not using it necessarily to cut. I want to use it to leave imprints. Now this is a layered file. So I just cut out a copy of it. I had scaled it down just a little bit here. And I'm hoping that this will work out for me there, because I'm just going to use it to put imprints in the clay, and I'm just going to use a craft knife to cut around those imprints and make my sections. some leaves and some flowers all made up and setting out to dry. And I just started grabbing up containers that would work to hang them upside down on so that they would dry kind of formed. But these are poinsettias, and they do kind of, oh sorry, had to pick up a bag. They do kind of have centers in them. I'm not going to try to make any stamen. I'm just going to make some little balls for it. Just going to kind of really go like this. Not going to be even. I'm not worried about neatness. With it being clay, it's already going to really have a shabby vintage look to it. So I'm just going to try to make up some various sizes to go as the centers on those poinsettias. Alright, since I'm pretty sure that this is going to get covered up by the ornaments and the poinsettias I made, I wanted to test out the mediums that came in this month's kit. So here's that silver paint right here, and the red paint, and the interference green is this one right here, and it's harder to see on the camera, but you can see a bit of that green hint in there. It actually shows up a little bit more green in real life here, and then the brilliant gold right there. I just wanted to see how everything looked on here before I actually, right here you can kind of see how that does give a green hint there. That's what came off my finger just from touching that, because these powders are not permanent unless you make them permanent. So, and these were just brushed on with water just so I could test how the colors looked. So I'm going to drag. I had to set up a little folding table so all of my clay could dry, and now I'm going to kind of play around with positioning. I'm not even sure it's all the way dry yet. It just doesn't want to dry in cooler, humid weather for me. So I'm just going to kind of try to work with it a little bit. Work with placement, see how it's looking, before I really get going on what colors I'm going to use and how I'm going to use them. Now that I kind of know what direction I'm heading, I'm going to start getting all my pieces ready. I know I made 6 of those ornaments, but I'm just going to use the 2 over here and then have my little handmade poinsettias going across. But to make sure that I remember what I'm thinking, I'm taking a picture here just to have on standby. I think I'm gonna work in the silver first in the fashion here. Yeah, Let me just get this going with some of that silver paint. And now, just for a little bit of extra spots of color, I'm just going to sprinkle on some of this inference green just off a brush up here. And I want to do it while this paint is wet so that it'll help hold it in place, since these are water reactive powders. I have a layer down. It's not all the way dry. This right here is still drying. You can see how it gets darker over that second, or as a second layer. This patch right here was where I was testing the colors, so you can see that that silver will get darker as I go along in some areas. I don't know how well that hint of green really shows up. It does show a little bit in real life, but the camera doesn't really seem to catch it. But because of this right here, where I know that the layers are going to get darker, and this can give kind of a silver undertone to some areas, I'm going to now stack up all my parts, and I'm going to actually start adhering them. I just kind of wanted a silver undercoat for everything that I'm going to be building on. And by the time I'm done, it should be more pronounced through here and kind of look like it's fading out. That's where I'm trying to go with this. Hopefully it comes out how I'm thinking. But I'm just going to use some super heavy gel to start sticking everything down, using that picture that I had taken as a way to remember how I had everything laid out. Okay, the gel's not all the way dry, but I did speed it up just some, just so that I can move along. And honestly, the more I look at this and think about it, I'm not sure if I'm going to use all of the mediums on here. I really like using silver and gold together, and I may just very well stick with that and use the red at a later date. Maybe some of this green. I'm not sure. I'm honestly just not sure right now. But I do know I am not going to put gesso on all of my clay parts. I'm actually going to use some of this silver as a base coat so that it can have just a bit of a silver undertone. It might take more than one coat, but I actually want this silver to kind of get absorbed into the clay to start. So I'm just going to grab up a brush, maybe a couple brushes, might need some different sizes to get everything coated, and go over all of my clay pieces with this metallic paint. I am going to mix up some clear gesso here with some of that metallic paint, like so. Just to kind of thin it out just a little bit more. And I'm going to add a little bit of water. And some of that interference green powder here. I'm kind of making a bit of a custom paint here. And I think I'm going to add just a touch of the gold powder as well. Now this is likely to get very messy, so I'm going to lay out a towel here. And then really just pour this on. Okay. You remember how I said that I really love silver and gold for Christmas projects? This is no different. I am loving how this has come out, and even though I hadn't planned on it, I am stopping right here. Now that it's dry, I am very happy with how this has come out. So I still have all of my glitter left that had came in the kit. And my paints, I didn't use any of the red on here. I used a little bit of both of the powders and the silver paint and the clay. And that was it. And I made myself just this metallic 3D Christmas canvas. So I hope it gave you some ideas of how to use those powders and ways you can use the clay. You can use it in the mold that came with the kit. You can shape it by hand and cut it into your own designs. And I just wanted to talk about this right here. I did break that. I dropped a bottle right on top of it. I'm still not sure how. I just like completely lost my grip and dropped it. So don't be me, be more careful so you don't break off things and make yourself sad. But my project is done, and I hope you enjoyed it and that it gave you some ideas of what can be done with the items found in this month's mixed media kit. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you can see other projects coming up this month or the reveal videos at the beginning of the months. And thank you, and I will see you again soon.